everybody, and welcome to another episode of Annie's Food Show. On the show today, I am looking at handheld pies, meaning like we call fish pies, we have meat pies, all our pies that we hold in our hands. Now, traditionally, what filling you put into it makes it what you call it. So when you put meat, you call it meat pie. When you put fish, you call it fish pie, right? Except nowadays, sometimes when you ask for fish pie, it's just an understanding that it's pastry with some form of a vegetable inside. So what I'm going to do today is show you how to do very simple, easy to do pies. I call it handheld pies because we can use various different types of fillings. So I don't want to sort of localize it to only one type of filling. So we're going to walk through two types of fillings, and then I'll show you the pastry, how to do my pastry, which actually is a fail-proof method for pastries and pies. So don't go away, stay tuned. As we come back, we'll just dive right into the kitchen, right into the action. Stay tuned.
Anna's Food Show, your favorite food and lifestyle show. The assurance for your well-being.
Welcome back. So our first filling that we're going to prepare is a pineapple filling, and quite unusual for us, but as we typically use savory foods in our pies. But this one I'm going to do a fruit base, which is pineapple. So I have one small pineapple here, all cut up into small chunks. Okay, so we'll put that in our pot. Yes, we do cook pineapple. Can cook pineapple, it's okay. I know somebody's thinking right now, oh my goodness, she's cooking the fruit. Yes, I'm cooking the fruit. It's going to be nice and soft, and it actually does bring out a little bit of a different type of flavor. And even if your pineapple is sour, and when you cook it, the sugar converts to a sweeter flavor. So it doesn't matter whether it's sweet or sour, your sugar is going to, your cooking process is going to make it turn into a good flavor. Okay, so in addition to the pineapple here, my chunks are really on the bigger side, but hopefully it will cook down. And we have half a cup of sugar, okay, and I'm adding 1 cup of water. Why? Because before the pineapple starts releasing its juices, the heat might burn the pineapple, and it needs time to actually cook down. And mix that up. Very simple thing here. And nutmeg, which we'll use it for chin chin and all whatnot. Very good flavor profile with pineapple. Goes very well. And then another flavor, you can use vanilla if you choose to. Now, to get more depth out of this, you could use rum, and I'm using here just about just a half a teaspoon of Irish cream. Okay, so just a little bit of it. Actually, I'll rinse that down. Okay, just a little bit. It adds just a little bit of depth to it. Now, the heat is going to burn off the alcohol, so don't worry and say, oh, I don't drink alcohol. But the heat burns off the alcohol. Vanilla, pineapple flavor, any flavors that you buy and use are made from alcohol base. So it's the same with this one. When you cook it, the alcohol burns off, and you're left with a wonderful flavor, okay? So don't worry so much, it's okay, okay? Then we are adding a little bit of gari to this. Now, that is an unusual ingredient, tapioca, okay? You can have it, when you put gari in hot water, it rises. When you put it in cold water, it rises. So it's a starch which goes into hot water or cold water. In this case, now I'm going to use it here just to thicken it a little bit. You know, we're putting this into a pastry, and we don't want too much of the juices flowing out. So when we put the gari in it, it's going to give it a nice creamy texture that we want, and it's also going to make it sort of thick and robust as you need it to be. All right. So this, when we're done with this filling, is going to be something that will be good for kids to take to school also. Okay. So we'll put about 1 tablespoon of gari. And also gari versus other forms of starches like flour, gari will go clear in it, so it will not be like a pasty look. It will have a nice beautiful shine. And even in the oven, if it oozes out, it's going to just tighten up. Okay, so you will not lose all your filling. And then you just let that simmer until it is thick. Okay, we'll set this aside and it will continue to cook on the back while we do our next filling. Okay, stay tuned.
Anna's Food Show, your favorite food and lifestyle show. The assurance for your well-being.
Okay, while we have our pineapple sauce going, or pineapple filling going, I'll just put that on a very low heat, and it's just about done. It just doesn't take long to do. Now we'll shift over and do the other filling, which is a savory filling. We'll do a beef and rice, curried beef and rice filling. Okay, you know, sometimes when we get these fish pies at events and you look inside, it's just loaded with just some few pieces of shredded carrots. Sometimes it's a little bit discouraging. What I find is rice is an inexpensive food that can actually fill the gaps. You know, if you mix it in with only with vegetables and rice, even if you left out the meat, at least it would make somebody feel that they're having something worth their while, more entertaining for their palates. So to start off here, we're going to start this off. We'll heat up about 2 tablespoons of cooking oil. Actually, not a whole lot of oil, about 2 tablespoons of cooking oil. And while that's warming up, now we'll chop our onions. We'll really, do a fine cut. We don't want that when you want to bite into your pie. All you bite into is a piece of onion or a carrot or something of that nature. But you want the flavors to blend and combine. So just cut thin, small pieces. Hey, and this is also another very juicy onion. Red onions tend to do that though. They're very sharp and they're very juicy. So we'll cut that. There we go. Okay. I think the oil is telling me that it's hot. So I'll just go ahead though. And I also have our carrots diced into small pieces. If you want, you can do it smaller or however you choose, but that's about fine. Okay, so just put the carrots and the onions together. Okay. Some odd pieces that really don't want to get cut. So let me stir fry that. Now to that we're going to add about 1.5 tablespoons, not teaspoons. So we're going to really add a lot of curry. I'm adding the curry now to the seasoning here just so that it toasts along with the vegetables as they're heating up. It brings out the flavor, and those in the studio behind the cameras can already pick up the flavors already. So then we add in about half a teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of salt, and then about half a teaspoon of garlic powder and half a teaspoon of ginger powder. You can always use fresh if you choose to, but this is just a little bit convenient for the busy person. And assuming that you have a lot of these to make, you just want to do it fast. Now, beef, I just used a boneless cut and put in a blender and I ground it up. That's all. Really, that's all there is to it. So we'll just put that in. And I did not pre-cook it, so it's all going to cook together. So if you notice, and it will not take long to cook because we're practically frying the meat in essence. And because it's a lean part of the meat, meaning it doesn't have a lot of fat. If you look at it, it was quite red. So it doesn't have a lot of fat. So there will not be a lot of water that will come out of it. And therefore, it might seem a little bit dry and tough. Someday we'll talk about different cuts of meat and how they cook. But when you cook meat without bones, it tends to be tough and you tend to cook it for too long. Then sometimes the longer you cook, the tougher it gets. But we'll talk about that in a different day. Today we're talking about curry beef. Alright, so we'll just fry this now until it's all sort of brown and cooked a little bit. Okay. And then we're going to add, when pretty much all of the meat is brown, then we would want to add our rice to it, which I prepared earlier. And again, I'm using duck rice. Now this is the short grain duck rice, the one that everybody is afraid. Well, I shouldn't say everybody. A lot of people are afraid to cook because it always sticks together. But this is about 2 cups of duck rice, or UNVDA rice actually, because there are various other producers. But this in particular, UNVDA is the largest producer of rice in the Ndop area, or Upper Non-Development Association. So we'll just go ahead and add the rice to it. There we go. And sort of stir fry it. Oh, my spoon is hot. Anyway, this is something that if you don't want to do for a filling, you can actually make this and serve it to your children to eat, or your adults to eat. Whoever can eat it, not only children. So it's a quick way, a quick meal to make for your household. So working mothers, yes, you can do this really fast for your family. And it's also nice and nutritious. Not fruit, I was going to say fruit and vegetables, but it's got your vegetables and your meat all in one. Okay. Alright. So we'll just let that, just the meat just cook a little bit. Then when we come back now, we'll be ready to do our pastry and roll them into our pies. Stay tuned.
Anna's Food Show, your favorite food and lifestyle show. The assurance for your well-being.
Alright, now that we have our fillings done, we'll go now into making our pastry, the pastry. We'll start off with 3 cups of flour, and we're using margarine, and it's 1.5 cups of margarine right here. So, actually, before we get into the margarine, we will add all our dry ingredients. So we have about 1/2 teaspoon of salt and 1/2 teaspoon of sugar. Yeah, so it's very little sugar. Don't overdo it. It's just a little bit just to get the flavor in. And then we add about 1.5 cups of margarine. So what we'll do now is just put that in there and sort of rub it in to get like a, so I call it gari-like texture. Okay. Now this is going to give us a very soft pastry, and for our pies. Keep in mind that this recipe is made primarily for baking than frying. I know a lot of people are doing fish pies or meat pies that are fried. This dough in particular is for baking. So you really need to get your stuff that you've been storing in your ovens, dust them out, and start using it, because there's a lot of stuff you can use it for. Okay, and you'd appreciate the difference. So we have a very soft dough, and it's soft because of the margarine. Now if we were using even butter, I know in our society here we use margarine more than butter, but if you use butter, it's even better. It gives a much more crispier pastry. So now we've got it to a fine, almost like gari, Okay. And the other little trick about getting your pastry to be crisp is to make sure your ingredients are very cold. Like I had to chill the margarine, put it in the fridge to chill, that it's almost like very solid. That works well. And water, I actually dropped in some ice in it to keep it ice cold. So we'll do about half a cup of water. And the colder, when your ingredients are cold, it makes it nice and crispy at the end. So we just do that. The more you knead it, you know, first thought you'll be like, hey, this is too soft, oh, bring me flour. No, don't do it. Just knead it. The more you knead it, the better it gets, okay? So you can do this actually, if you have a lot to do, you can do it ahead of time and put it in the refrigerator for about half hour to chill, and then you take it out and you knead it some more and it's going to be good. So we'll just knead some here and then we'll transfer it onto a flat surface. So we'll transfer it onto a nice board here. Before we do that, you just need to dust it with a little bit of flour so it doesn't stick to it. Just dust that and we transfer it there. Okay. Kneading is a good way of reducing stress. Kind of gets your mind off of the world's affairs. You get all your energy, every frustration in the world, you just take it out on your dough. Okay. See, it's getting smoother as we knead it. Okay. And it's really soft as well. Now, if you are adventurous, you can actually roll in just about half a cup more of fat. That's margarine, not oil. But if you want to do that, you have to first of all make this one, chill it, that you put it in the refrigerator to cool, and then you roll in or you add the other fat by kneading it in. Okay, so this is basically what we have. It's nice and smooth, okay? A good way for a workout. When you get really frustrated, you were at work, your boss was not friendly, customers drove you crazy, just come home and make some good fish pies, meat pies, pineapple pie, and you'll be right happy again. Okay, so there you have it, your dough. You can refrigerate it for about 30 minutes. We'll just go ahead and go into filling the dough. So, I will just cut little pieces at a time here so that we work just a little bit. I'm just going to show you how I do it, that's all. Again, on your pin, you put a little bit of flour. Now to roll your dough, I know sometimes you just know that you have to roll the dough. It means that you just go back and forth and do whatever. Now, to make sure that you don't abuse the dough, because yes, you can abuse the dough. A dough is tender, and so you have to treat it with tender, loving care. Okay? If you overstretch it, you taste it. It feels like rubber that has been baked, and it breaks in a funny manner. Okay? So you go from the center towards you, from the center out. You don't do the back and forth thing. You stress the dough. And if you don't like to be stressed, your dough absolutely doesn't like to be stressed either. So we go center and side. Okay, then you lift it up, you turn it over, and you go out from the center to the, from the center outward, not back and forth, like la 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 la, no. Okay, it up, kind of, it takes its shape, and then you know how far you can stretch it again. Okay, I think we have a good stretch on this so far. Alright, so we'll come now and we cut our shapes. Depending on how big you want your pie, that's how big you're going to cut your shape. So I'm just going to use this bowl here to cut. So it's up to you how you cut or what you choose, what size you choose to cut. So just do this, lift it up, cut another circle. And there's always the question of what do you do with the ends that do not meet? Just like this. You can't quite make one full one. So what I do, I just let it be. I will fill these and set these aside. And then I clip over this way and I make up for it this way. It's like in primary school, you borrow one and add it to two. Borrow one and add it. So we borrow from that side, some from the other side, add it to this other end, and then we'll roll it flat so the joints would meet. And then you can, actually I'll just use my hand here in this case. It's good enough for another round. There you have it. Then when you get to the point where absolutely you have not much to do with your scraps, then you can, I don't know, you can actually just roll it, put some nutmeg on it, and bake it for your children. Oh, actually even for yourself to enjoy. Yeah, why not you? Seems like the children are always enjoying. Anyway, that's okay. Which one should we do first? I'll just do and fill a couple here, just one here. And with the filling, this is our rice filling that we did earlier. So you want to make sure that the filling is really cold before you put it onto your pastry, so it doesn't start cooking your pastry before you get it into the oven. So we'll just do that about, really it's about a tablespoon rather. And stretch that over. Maybe we can just do a little bit more. Yes. Stretch it over and crimp the sides down. Okay. And even with a fork. This is quite a big pie though. I use a large circumference, but it's up to you what works best. Okay, so that is the pie for beef. Let's fill one with the pineapple. Again, when your pineapple is really cold, it's nice and thick, so it's nice to work with it when it's quite thick. Okay, so when you cook it down, and you use, it's quite spoonable here. So just put that there like so. Okay, roll it over into a half moon shape. Press that down. Crimp the edges. Easy as pie, as I say. So that's really all there is to it to make the pie. Now we're going to, there's some that we filled earlier. We're going to put that in the oven, and then we'll take a short break, clean up, and then we'll come back and taste these pies. Stay tuned though.
Anna's Food Show, your favorite food and lifestyle show. The assurance for your well-being.
Okay, now we have our pies baked. So we have the meat pie or curry beef pie, and we have the fruit pie, the pineapple pie. To make this look a little bit more dainty, what we'll do is just take some icing sugar, put a little bit of water in it, and just drizzle it on the pie. Okay, so it makes it look nice, gives it a nice finish, and all gives it a little bit of a different look also. Okay. Okay. So with that, you have an iced fruit pie, pineapple filling, and you have the curried beef pie. So in this session, I'm going to be the one who will try it and tell you how good it is. So, with the fruit, you can see the fruit actually boxed into the pie, so it has a full pie effect, and you can see that it looks really good. And then the beef, actually you should eat your meal before dessert. So I have the curried one before again, see the rice in this makes it look fuller. So rather than just shredded pieces of carrots, you see that you actually have a full pie, okay? Curried pie. I hope you've learned something from the show today, and I hope you found it interesting. Feel free to send us your comments on anemundi2009@gmail.com, on our Facebook page at Ane's Food Show, and also YouTube Ane's Food Show. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for our next show, and bye.